Hey y'all, it's Lauren. Today I'm going to be doing another Jesus Calling for Kids video in discussion. This is Jesus Calling. It's a devotional for kids, or Jesus Calling for Kids, a devotional for kids, by Sarah Young and adopted by Thelma Fortner. I am going to be, sorry, the thing is kind of wobbly. I was trying to get it closer to the light because I had a request to put it a little bit closer to the light because it was so dark in my videos, so just trying to figure. Okay, I think that'll work. So, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm new to YouTube, so we're both in the same boat, you know? I like to write down all of the summarizations of the devotionals in some form of notebook so that I can read them to you and paraphrase it and then also write it in the description. So I just kind of want to give a little bit of an introduction sort of into the topic that this devotional is dealing with. I tend to have like a lot of anxiety about stuff, so and I overthink things, and I'm an overthinker. So I thought this devotional in particular was especially important to share for those of you who were actually diagnosed with anxiety or just have those kinds of feelings all the time, or even if you're just going through a rough patch that you feel very anxious and worried. This one in particular is really encouraging to me. Today's the 16th of January, and the title is Don't Rehearse Your Problems. When days get tough, we tend to rehearse these things and situations in our heads over and over. However, we were only supposed to live through them once. So what it means by that is like when we think about these things over and over again, and I know for me, I feel like I have a certain degree of not social anxiety, but caring about what people think. So minor like humiliations or what I perceive to be humiliations, I replay in my head over and over again. And so I feel those sorts of feelings every single time it's brought up in my mind. And you're reliving through all of that when you process through it like that all the time and you rehearse it. But you're only supposed to live through that scenario once. Don't put it all on yourself to figure out how to get through the situation. Go to Jesus and He will guide you and give you peace. He is always with us, and He gives us all we need to be strong and courageous through our challenges. I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. I go to counseling, so basically what my counselor was telling me is that when you feel these sorts of anxious feelings, you have to tell yourself the truth, because a lot of the times what we do is we amplify situations in our mind, and we're like, oh, wow, we take this little tiny inconvenience or situation and then we make it so much bigger than it actually is, and we kind of go down the rabbit hole of overthinking and just kind of making the situation bigger than it actually is. And so she was saying that you just need to tell yourself the truth. And so what I do is when I'm starting to feel very anxious or worried or something like that, I like to breathe. And that's not necessarily like a spiritual sort of thing, but she recommends it, is what you need to do is you just need to stop and breathe. And you need to think about the situation, and you need to say to yourself, is this really large as I have made it appear? You need to what I do is I need to sort of talk myself down, calm myself down, stop and think, okay, are these thoughts rational? Am I overreacting? And you kind of need to ask yourself those questions if dealing with anxiety is very common. Again, I don't really have a lot of experience. I'm learning. That's why I'm going to counseling and stuff like that, about how to deal with certain feelings of anxiety. So if you were actually diagnosed, I'm not exactly sure what kinds of steps that you'd need to take for that. But number one, you can always just breathe. 2, tell yourself the truth. 3, what I like to do is I like to pick a specific verse. So if a verse comes up into my head, which is what the Holy Spirit does, He brings up these verses to our memory when we feel very anxious or situations like that. And the verse that I've been sort of listening to or kind of meditating on is Joshua 1:9. And I'll actually read that because that was, not ironically, but surprisingly, coincidentally, it was in the devotional for the day. So I'm going to read that in a second. He will turn, and then this is a direct quotation, he will turn your worries and your fears into confidence and trust. Okay, so Joshua 1:9, and this is all from the New Living Translation. This is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And for me personally, like when it says, this is my command, be strong and courageous, I understand that it's hard sometimes because a lot of the times you can't really force yourself to do that. It just kind of is not counterintuitive, but it is difficult to do when you have all these thoughts spiraling through your head and you're getting very anxious and worked up and wound up and stuff. It's hard to be strong and courageous because all you hear or all you think about is what's in your head. And so the part that really gives me a lot of peace is, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. The fact that God is the creator of the entire universe, but he's still with you every single step of the way and every single second of your entire life is just super encouraging to me. Just because it helps me to realize that I don't have to do everything by myself. And then I should have read this first, Joshua 1:5, which says that no one will be able to stand against you as long as you live. For I will be with you as I was with Moses. I will not fail you or abandon you. And in this context, God is talking to Joshua, which was a servant or like the, I guess you could call, sidekick of Moses. So when Moses died, God basically put Joshua in charge of the Israelites. And so God's telling Joshua these things. You don't need to be afraid. You know what? I'll be with you like I was with Moses. You don't need to worry about anything. He won't fail us or abandon us. And that's also applicable to us as well, I believe. Y'all need to quit, please. My birds. It's applicable to us as well because we just know the nature of God and that he won't fail us or abandon us or just sort of leave us there. And then Matthew 11:28 through 30. These are probably my all-time favorite verses. I mean, I have a lot of ones that I like a lot, but these ones always hit me in that spot. Matthew 11:28 through 30. Then Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light." So when it says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and carry heavy burdens," the person out there that always takes, I don't know who I'm speaking to, I'm sure I'm speaking to somebody, that always takes on the burdens of other people when it's not your responsibility to bear them. I know how emotionally draining that can be. If you're the friend that always takes care of other friends, you deal with their problems before you deal with your own. You spend more time and effort into other people instead of into yourself, which is good to a degree. It's good to a point, because that's also what my counselor was talking about, because that's another issue I have is taking on the burdens of other people, in the sense that I let them use me because I am eager to please. And so the person that's out there that always has to deal with the stuff of other people but can't go through the time to deal with their own stuff, I totally understand where you're coming from. And so you get tired. It's emotionally draining, and when it's emotionally and mentally draining, it gets physically draining because you don't want to move, you don't want to do anything, you just want to stay there and just sit down, and I get that. When it says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest," that's a promise. And so sometimes I've thought, well, how do I do that? How do I go to Jesus? He's not here physically on this earth. What do I need to do in order to get my burdens lifted off of me? I think that there are some things that you can do. For example, tell people no. Like, you can't keep telling people yes, because once you tell them yes, and I'm not saying that you can't say yes to anything, if you're the kind of person that says yes to everything that people ask you to do, people will eat you up. They'll use you, and just, they know that you won't say no to them, so they'll go to you for certain things, even when you're tired and you can't feel like you can handle it anymore. The first thing that I would recommend is sort of processing in your head how to say no to certain things, gently but firmly. You can't let your sympathy or empathy or compassion to let people walk over you. That's sort of the thing that I'm sort of getting. Also, learning to figure out how you best come into God's presence. So, like I said, what I do is I rehearse the verse into my head, and I kind of speed it up, I guess, a little bit, just because I don't think I can go over 15 minutes. Maybe I can, because of something weird with the YouTube. I don't know. But basically, if you like to listen to worship songs, do that. Something that will get your mind onto God instead of your problem or your situation. I'm not saying to push it to the side or anything, but something that will help you gain a little bit more trust in God. Or if you recite or rehearse the verse in your head, you have a verse that calms you down, you kind of remember that and you meditate on that throughout the day. Self-care is so, so important, and I had no idea how to take care of myself up until I started hearing about like these new crazes. Oh, self-care. And through counseling and stuff, you got to take care of yourself. You can't constantly be working. If you take AP classes or advanced classes, you take multiple of those, you're involved in an extracurricular. Obviously, you have to have a social life if you volunteer at church. It just all kind of adds up. So you need to take care of yourself, whether that be taking a walk or doodling, or even taking a break from your homework for a minute, and you know what, I need to actually decompress. This can wait. That's totally hard if you're an overachiever, but it's possible. You just need to take care of yourself. So, number one, put yourself into God's presence, self-care, and also learning how to tell people no is a way to sort of release the burdens and anxiety that is caused when you just think through things too much. And I kind of went kind of crazy with the verse and all that, but I just really think it's important that we keep God at the center of things, because if we don't, then we know for a fact that we will be anxiety ridden 100% of the time, because generally, truly, he's the only one that can give you any sort of real peace. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's kind of longer, but I still hope you enjoyed it. Make sure that you, if you want to see more videos like this, comment and like and subscribe as well. Thanks for joining me. Bye.